Hello, fellow LDers. Today, we'll be talking about the judge. Now, contrary to popular NCFCA myths, rumors, and legends, the judge is not somebody who's beamed down into a debate round to simply destroy your hopes of going to regionals and ruin the rest of your life and career in the NCFCA. The judge is actually going to be one of three categories. Either a parent, a student, alumni judge, like myself, or a member of the community who has been gracious enough to come donate some time to the NCFCA. You will be able to determine which one of these three categories the judge is by looking at their name tag color. So, starting right into what the judge is actually told about determining a round. The judge is taught the same technique for flowing as I showed you in the previous video. Now, they aren't necessarily taught how to determine who wins or loses the round, but it's implied that you use the flow pad and look at who dropped the most evidence or arguments. Or at least that's how I took it away, and I'm guessing from my past experience in rounds that that's how most judges take away the briefing on how to flow. And what that means is they're judging you based off of a team policy mindset, where if you lose an argument, you lose the round, as opposed to an LD mindset, whereas so long as you prove the value, you've won the round. So you don't have to necessarily worry about all the minutia of evidence, etc. It's more about the bigger picture of what's going on in the debate round. And that's how you determine the round. So remember that as a student participating in the NCFCA, you need to clearly explain to the judge that Lincoln Douglas is determined by values and not arguments. It's very critical to do this, otherwise your judge could come up with some very interesting decision as far as who won or lost that debate round. Next up, let's take a look at how your judge has to determine who won or lost the speaker point battle. This was a very fascinating thing for myself as a judge to find out that many of the things I thought were on the ballot aren't necessarily on the ballot, like eye contact. Nowhere on the ballot. As a matter of fact, only 2 of the 6 positions I actually thought were speakers being judged on. The rest I thought was all just debate logic. So, let's take a look at the 6 categories you will be judged on. And I'll post a copy of this judging sheet on my Google Plus page if you'd like to see it. First off, persuasiveness. A poor speaker who lacks arguments would be somebody who's completely not persuasive. Whereas on a 5 scale is an extremely convincing person who's a good speaker and highly interesting and compelling arguments. Next up, organization. A very unorganized speaker is somebody who's lacking in arguments and presenting them in a haphazard manner, like essential chaos to the judge. You won't know what's going on in the round. Whereas a superiorly organized person with arguments and support throughout the entire round is a person of a 5 scale organization, or a very well organized person. Now, delivery or conduct, this mainly refers to whether you completely lack confidence, are arrogant and abrasive. That would be a horrible thing to present to the judge, and a 1 scale on this rating chart. Whereas if you have a highly polished speaker with excellent volume and a gracious, winsome, and respectful person, that would be a 5 scale with regard to the judge. Next up, evidence. Who would have thought that big pile of books and quotes you've accumulated would actually have to do with speaker points? But, surprisingly, it does. Now, on a 1 scale, little or no evidence is considered the lack of logic, arguments, and support, and also evidence that's illogical or very confusing to the judge. So, on the other side, what's a good evidence look like, or good support? It means that you presented a great understandable evidence, examples, reasoning, and support in every major argument. In other words, you have something to back everything up with. Now, on to cross-examination. A bad cross-examination person is someone who's unprepared to ask or answer questions, and behaved extremely rude during cross-examination. This would be somebody who dodges questions every single time. Not saying that it's a bad thing to dodge questions, but don't dodge every single one. And on the complete opposite side of the scale, what's an excellent cross-examined person? They are somebody who asks extremely good questions and tries to trap the opponent into their arguments, and thus has persuasive arguments within cross-examinations, and is also always courteous. So, pretty much down the line, always be courteous. It's just a no-brainer, essentially. Now, finally, and last on the judge's criteria for speeches and how they rank speakers, we have refutation. Refutation on the poor scale consists of missing or either error in the points being made. So they essentially miss what is happening in the round and go off on something completely tangent or not applicable. Say you were talking about how polar bears were superior to teddy bears, your opponent brings up penguins. That is poor refutation. It's not anywhere in your speech, and thus they aren't refuting anything. So keep that in mind. On the other hand, exceptional skill in identifying core arguments of the opponent and presenting persuasive rebuttals or arguments to them, that is considered a 5 on the scale of refutation. Meaning you clearly identify the errors in their case and explain to the judge why that is wrong. So, hope that helps you out, and we've basically gone through everything the judge has in their repertoire going into a round and how they will be determining the round at the end of the day if they actually keep to the NCFCA debate standards for judging. Hope this is helpful to you, and I'll be focusing on it more in some of my future videos so that we can truly understand the judge, where he's coming from, what he or she is doing, and thus understanding them, we'll be able to talk to them and persuade them to our side of the debate round. Thank you very much for watching, and have a fantastic day.